Hi, Esther Goldberg. I'm a clinical and educational psychologist specializing in ADHD and personality. I also cope personally with ADHD every minute of every day and have applied this approach to myself. I have written 2 books on ADHD, Talking ADHD and My Mind Races. Both have been extremely well reviewed by leading professionals in the field. This is a call to parents, teachers, and professionals interested in understanding ADHD, empowering and enabling their children to be understood. The purpose is to raise awareness or consciousness and learn a new, simple language slowly and over time. Do not rush. This is why I firmly believe that only parents and teachers who live the child every day can teach him about himself and consider this as emotional therapy. This particular video is particularly important to me in understanding the CHAMP model I developed with my approach to ADHD. I developed this language as an effective tool that will help you to learn a new, simple, unique, creative, fun language of metaphors that will enable you to connect mindfully with your child and enable him to raise awareness of himself. Remember, the child or adult is not aware that he has ADHD and does not have a clue as to what it means. He only understands it from the reactions of others to him or when he compares himself to others. See video number 5. We talked about the letter C in the acronym CHAMP. Choose one component in video number 14. By this, I mean that we will not talk in general terms about ADHD, which is a huge umbrella term, but we will choose one small aspect and focus on it. I chose restlessness in Neil's case, and I suggested giving it a friendly code name, an icon that we agree upon with him. In video number 14, we gave the name Spring to restlessness. The M in the CHAMP model is the metaphor or the name or the icon. The letter A in the acronym CHAMP stands for Active Adult Involvement. We will talk with him about the spring in general and gradually help him become aware of the fact that he too has a spring. We'll help him to identify his spring and observe that others have springs too. He's not alone. I am all for active involvement, and I read the poem The Spring from my book, My Mind Races. I also showed you how to ask mindful, meaningful questions in video number 16 in order to raise awareness. The letter H in the acronym CHAMP is how to help. That is the most important for me, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to help and give you practical tips how to talk to children with ADHD to raise awareness. As I said before, everything I say applies to adults too. We can only help when we ourselves are knowledgeable. And this is why I emphasize the importance of psychoeducation, teaching loving, concerned parents about the complex subject of ADHD with all its variations and ramifications. Understanding enables us to contain, explain, and not complain. Remember, this is not about bad parenting. So, for example, if we are convinced that he was born with a spring and he can't naturally choose consciously to stop and to control it, we learn how to help him stop, become aware, make an effort, and control. Tip number 1. There is nothing better than engaging in a simple game and using it to serve our purpose. I described the game 3 to 1 to actively help him identify the spring in video number 14. You get 3 points every time you see your spring, and I get 1 point every time I notice it. This game helps him to identify the spring. Later, another game to help him understand that he doesn't stop naturally because he has genuine difficulty choosing to consciously stop because of the difficulty with regulation, is statues. Kids love this game. In my workshops with groups of kids, I ask them to prance around the room with or without music. The moment I said statues, they had to pose as statues. I generally expressed my amazement at how good they were at this. I never beat them at the game. When I asked how come they're so good with statues but can't get themselves to sit down after the game, they shouted out, "Because it's a game!" And then I'd explain that they were excited about the game, keen on succeeding, love competition, and when they have an interest in something, they are able to give themselves a command and consciously stop themselves. I went on to explain that this does not come naturally, not in mundane everyday tasks, but if they are aware of their spring and learn all about it, learn when it is advantageous to them and when it is not, they can actually identify it when it is not to their advantage and give themselves a command. It does take effort, but it's a win-win and they can be their own boss. Tip number 3, we parents need to be able to explain by reflecting, and I will give some examples in a second, but I wish to warn you that this seems so obvious, clear, and easy, but it's not. But just before this, when I use the word reflection, I mean reflection in the sense of showing him and explaining to him what is happening, and not reflection in the emotional sense of mirroring him his feelings. This is not about feelings, remember. So instead of saying, "Sit down quietly now, can't you see that everybody else is sitting quietly?" We can reflect without getting angry, interpreting, punishing, and judging, and say something like this: "We're about to go out and I want to remind you about your spring. We talked about it. I will help you see it." I will say the word spring or do that just to help you see it, or saying you're beginning to pick up speed like a giant wave. I can see it coming. We can even agree on a metaphor such as tsunami or a wave or just storm. We can also reflect by saying, "Do you notice that you are beginning to lose patience now? That's a sign that your spring is being released." Number 4, we will insist on finding a quiet time to talk to him for a few minutes on a daily basis. Reflect, rehearse, redefine, remind him and ask him how they did with his spring today. Who loved it? Who didn't? How did it feel? Etc., etc. This is a fabulous opportunity for quality time with your children, so grab it. Number 5, we must also reflect when they have quiet moments too. We can say things like, "The sea is very calm now. There are no foamy, bubbly waves. Do you notice that?" Or, "You really enjoying playing just now, didn't you?" Number 6, remember, it's just natural that they will suddenly become all bubbly again. We can use these as opportunities to explain that the spring is unpredictable, and this can be very awkward or embarrassing. And this is why we need to be able to get the better of it, identify it. If we can identify it, we can nip it in the bud of time. If we identify, we can find our own solutions. Number 7, parents and teachers, identifying is 70% of the work. Don't rush. I cannot stress enough that this is a process, a gradual process of meaningful mindfulness and raising awareness. I do not have quick fixes because I do not believe in them. Number 8, we can also be active and help him connect and explain that he has a spring in his mind too. And this is awesome because the spring is the reason he is smart, thinks quickly, is spontaneous, full of charm, force, works at high speed, and is so intuitive and creative, all precisely because he does not stop to think and plan ahead. Always remember to talk of the tremendous advantages. It is not all bad news. So again, instead of saying, sit down now, you can say your thoughts are beginning to bounce from one thing to another. Number 9, we can also be active, reflect, and show him the exact moment where he begins to be restless. When he is bored, in everyday routines, he loses interest. Yes, this is a sign that he needs stimulation, and he needs to help himself find interest even in the smallest thing in order to focus again. We can notice a piece of jewelry or an accessory to find interest in and do a reset. We can also further point out the exact moment in class when he got bored. We can show him his notebook when he suddenly became all scribbly all over the page. That was the moment he lost attention or was distracted or his thoughts were racing. We can further point out, number 10, that when he gets bored or loses interests, he tends to pester his friends or his family. This is an attempt to find something to do again, something neat. We can acknowledge that he is doing this to refocus, but we cannot use this as a discount coupon. We need to channel this genuine need into a positive direction. Perhaps instead of pestering, he can find a game to play with his friend or something interesting to talk about. Number 11, we can read just one verse from this poem, The Spring, together, be active and remind him. I know that my springing drives folks up a tree, but did you know that to focus it really helps me? When it seems that I scatter and flutter around, in my head things sort out, I can pin some stuff down. That is enough to start a conversation with him about this particular point where he gets bored and starts looking for something to do in order to refocus. Number 12, we can also be active, reflect, and help him connect the dots and show him the exact point again in which he is distracted. Always remember, number 13, to talk about the flip edge. Distraction can be very positive. It is the source of spontaneity, creation, and a lot of other things. Number 13, we first need to be constantly aware. Always acknowledge even the smallest move in the right direction. Even if he did not succeed, but he began to be aware, we have to acknowledge and praise that. We need to be active, constantly learn, contain, help by being active, reflecting, help him connect the dots, see his strengths, teach him about himself, patiently rehearsing again and again, and help him channel his restlessness in this particular example in positive directions that will empower him. Follow me for more on this unique, mindful, meaningful approach, which combines Eastern and Western thought and is based on scientific knowledge and mindfulness. I truly believe that we need to teach children about themselves if we want them to succeed and be healthy in their minds. In the words of my late renowned mentor, Professor Dov Alexandrovich, rest in peace, a psychiatrist and a psychoanalyst who specialized in developmental deviations and personality, understanding and explanation are therapeutic tools no less important and effective than Ritalin, and their effect does not abate after several hours. Please like and comment so that we can start a dialogue here with other parents, teachers, and professionals. Do subscribe if you like the content of this channel and share if this is helpful to you. Thank you.